Hello, everybody. This is Dr. David Jockers, and today we're talking about 10 ways to improve your endorphin levels. When we look at endorphins, they're this neurochemical that really gives us a state of euphoria, and it also helps with pain relief. And if you're deficient in endorphins, you can have major symptoms like an inability to feel pleasure in life and chronic pain. And so when we break down the word endorphin, it means endo means within, it's created within the body. And then the orphin means basically morphine like, meaning that it blocks pain receptors. And endorphins have a couple major roles. Number one is blocking pain. So this is a key mechanism that has allowed human beings and really mammals in general to survive hostile circumstances. I mean, you think about if we're under tremendous trauma and we break bones or we really hurt ourselves, these endorphins are released, which allow us to block that pain so we can get up and run away from whatever danger that we're in. And that's the key mechanism here. On top of that, they also give us a sense of euphoria. I mean, you think about athletes, how are athletes able to have an injury yet continue to play in their game or whatever it is, or be able to, run long distances? Why is that? Because of endorphins. Endorphins are a key mechanism that gives us pleasure in life. And if we're deficient in endorphins, we're going to lack the level of pleasure and enjoyment in life, and we're going to suffer with chronic pain. So let's jump into this topic where I'm going to go over really 10 strategies to boost your endorphin levels. We're going to talk about the best foods. We're going to talk about the best supplements and things you can do on a daily basis to improve your endorphin levels. So if you don't know me, my name is Dr. David Jockers. I am a doctor of natural medicine. I speak all around the country at different organizations and churches, and I have a specialty really in metabolic health as well as brain function and improving brain chemistry. And this is my beautiful wife, Angel, my little boys, David and Joshua. And let's jump into the symptoms of endorphin deficiency. Well, chronic pain. So if you're dealing with chronic pain or fibromyalgia, if you've heard of that term, maybe you've been diagnosed with it or a friend has, those are classic symptoms of somebody that's deficient. Their body's not producing enough of these endorphins, so they're going to have issues. Also, things like headaches and migraines can very much be related to an endorphin deficiency. Especially if you're somebody out there and you're taking pain-killing medications and you're noticing that you've got to take larger and larger doses. I see a lot of people with addictions to things like oxycodone, things like that. That's a sign that you are deficient in these endorphins. Also, another classic sign is very emotionally sensitive. So if you're noticing the pain that we've talked about, but then also you're tearing up at things you really shouldn't tear up about, that's a sign, again, of endorphin deficiency. If you're just not having fun in life, you're just not enjoying your life, again, another sign. And then you'll also oftentimes have a lot of cravings for sugar, alcohol, things like chocolate, which we'll talk about is actually a good way to help boost endorphins. And you'll be craving these things because your body's trying to get anything it can to help boost it up. Now, how do we develop these endorphin deficiencies? Because we're not born like this. This develops over time. Children aren't like this, but adults are because of the way that we're living our life and the things that are affecting us. So you can see chronic stress and adrenal fatigue is absolutely one of the major ways, and especially when that affects our sleep ability. Most of the time when people that have low endorphins, they're really not sleeping well, okay? So they may sleep a little bit, but they're not sleeping well. And oftentimes they're relying on things like Ambien, these sleep-inducing medications, which really don't allow for proper healing and regenerative capacity in the body. They block that. And so you're not going to get kind of a reset of your neurotransmitters and the ability to produce the endorphins like you want. Blood sugar stability, from a nutrition perspective, that's one of the big things I look at, is helping people get their blood sugar stable. And that plays a big role with endorphins. Also, we got to look at the gut. So when we have an overgrowth of bad bacteria, yeast, parasites, these things are definitely going to affect the level of endorphin production and cause endorphin deficiencies for many individuals. Also, if we're overdoing it on caffeine and alcohol, can really be a problem. Gamma aminobutyric acid deficiency. GABA is like the brake for the brain, right? So it slows down the production of excitatory neurotransmitters. When we don't have that break, we're going to basically just over accelerate our brain and burn out and crash. And that's kind of what an endorphin deficiency is. So proper GABA levels is key. And I did another video that you guys can look at on my page for GABA. And I talk all about, how to improve the brake on the brain. So look that up. Spinal subluxations, particularly upper cervical spinal subluxations, when there's blockage at the upper cervical, top of the neck, that's going to affect good endorphin production in our body. And then just physical or emotional trauma. So like getting in a major car accident can set all of this off, because you're going to damage your spine. It's going to cause stress. You're not going to be able to sleep well, and then this whole vicious cycle starts to occur. And then also emotional trauma, maybe a family member passing away or a divorce or something along those lines can also be a major trigger for this. So these are the things to look out for. Now, blood sugar I was talking about is from a nutrition perspective, this is definitely something we can control. We can't necessarily control a trauma. We're not trying to have a trauma. It just happens. But we can control our blood sugar. And how do we do that? Through a good diet. But you can see here, normally when we eat a meal, our blood sugar is going to rise. Even if we have a low carb meal, okay, we're still going to have some level of rise of blood sugar and some level of rise of this hormone called insulin to take the blood sugar out of the bloodstream and put it into the muscles and liver cells and, really the fat cells as well, to clear the blood. Because really we want to have our blood sugar as stable as possible, because that's going to keep our inflammatory levels under control. When blood sugar is really high, it actually creates basically this advanced glycolytic enzyme process where it produces these AGEs that damage tissues and accelerate the aging process. We got to watch out for that. When somebody has adrenal fatigue or just poor diet in general, you could see that their blood sugar skyrockets, then their insulin comes out and skyrockets, and oftentimes they'll end up with this blood sugar imbalance where the sugar levels go down and you become hypoglycemic. It's called reactive hypoglycemia. And so that blood sugar drops way down, and we end up in that symptomatic mode right there, as you can see. So under the hypoglycemic mark. So that becomes a major, major issue with this. And so we want to really make sure we get the blood sugar stable, insulin stable. We need to do that with a healthy diet. We also need to make sure the gut is healthy. You can see there's a relationship between gut health and brain health. And we know that a leaky gut equals a leaky brain. And you can see, normal healthy status, we have things like normal behavior, normal memory and cognition, and something called nociception, which is the experience of pain. However, when the gut's damaged, we have an increased level of nociception, or perception of pain. So basically there's pain fibers that are always firing throughout our nervous system. However, the endorphins help keep that under control to where it's not hitting threshold to where we experience it as pain. When we are low in endorphins, though, we're not able to blunt the nociceptive awareness. And so now we start to experience things that we shouldn't normally experience as pain, and we experience that as pain throughout our body. And that's one of the classic signs of something called fibromyalgia. Also, again, very much related to an endorphin deficiency. So got to be able to address the gut with that. The gut plays a huge role with it. So what are strategies to improve our endorphin levels? Well, definitely an anti-inflammatory diet that supports the gut and blood sugar. That's super key. Regular sun exposure. Sun is one of the best ways to boost endorphins. When you get out in the sun and you're getting that UVA, UVB rays, it's going to naturally boost up all your neurotransmitters and support endorphin production. So getting regular, healthy levels of sun exposure. Seeing your chiropractor. You want to make sure that upper cervical, that top of the neck, is right in the proper alignment. That plays a big role with your body's ability to produce exactly the right amount of endorphins and really kind of coordinate and modulate the level of endorphins that you're producing. So see a chiropractor on a regular basis. Look at that upper cervical spine for that. Also, you really want to get your whole spine checked, because if your sacrum is out of alignment because you've been sitting for a long period of time, you want to make sure you get that properly adjusted, to get motion in there. Again, motion in the spine is gonna help boost endorphin levels, so it's very key. Listen to your favorite music. Music, all of us have experienced euphoria, just a heightened sense of awareness and enjoyment listening to music. So listen to your favorite music. Ideally, you're gonna be able to keep your endorphin levels at a really healthy level if the music is lighter for longer. Like if you're listening to more louder, excitatory music, you'd only want to do that for short periods of time, and that can be amazing doing it for short periods of time. Whereas if you're going to listen to music for hours straight, it should be lighter, like light worship music or classical music, and that will help keep the endorphins elevated. Eat some dark chocolate. We'll talk more about that. I think that's a great recommendation everybody wants. Acupuncture can be really, really helpful for endorphins. One of the great reasons why acupuncture works so well is because of its ability to elevate and coordinate endorphin levels. So people experience great relief from pain, from headaches, just a heightened sense of awareness of in their life, just performance benefits. So it's great. Deep breathing can be key. Exercise. Exercise beats pain medications, and it beats antidepressants in every single study. Why? Because again, it not only does it oxygenate the body, improves mitochondrial function, helps stabilize blood sugar, but also it boosts up endorphins. Practice stretching exercises or yoga, getting your body just movement. Again, movement is life. So whether it's stretching, doing things like yoga, especially if you've got severe adrenal fatigue, you may not be able to really exercise. So then doing stretching and yoga can be really helpful. And then laugh and play. We know the average child laughs 300 times per day. Most adults are laughing somewhere between 12 to 15 chuckles a day. So the reality is, the more we can laugh and enjoy ourselves, the more endorphins we're going to produce. Laughter is a great way to produce endorphins. We've all experienced an uplift in our mood, our performance, our enjoyment of life by laughing, by listening to comedies and different things like that. Laughter is a great way to boost endorphins. So diet-wise, because people are like, okay, what's an anti-inflammatory diet? What should I be eating? Well, really, we want at the bottom good fats. So kind of our foundation is good fats: avocados, olives, olive oil, grass-fed butter, pasture-raised eggs, coconut products. These things are awesome. That should be the foundational part of our nutrition plan. That's where we're going to get the right calories to help keep our blood sugar stable. So you want to have these good fats in every meal, at least one of them in every meal. Antioxidants, so getting a lot of vegetables as well as herbs like basil, oregano, turmeric, ginger, rosemary. These things are awesome for our body, our gut, as well as our blood sugar. Low glycemic fruit, so fruit that's low in sugar. That's going to be berries, lemons, limes. These are awesome, really good for the body. Clean protein, so chicken. Obviously, we want to make sure we get organic, pasture-raised, wild-caught fish, grass-fed beef, lamb, bison, antelope, duck. These things are awesome for our body, really, really good for our system. And that's going to help with blood sugar stability. Fiber, so nuts and seeds, pumpkin seeds, Brazil nuts, walnuts. These things are great. Fermented foods like kimchi, pickles, sauerkraut, coconut milk yogurt, coconut water kefir. So getting fermented foods can really help support the gut and the gut's ability to produce B vitamins, to regulate itself, to keep inflammation down. So we want that for good, healthy endorphin production. And then low glycemic sweeteners. So my favorite are stevia and monk fruit. But you can also do things like small amounts of raw honey, maybe coconut sugar, but in small amounts. So it's really key. But you can see these recipes. In fact, we have a whole super brain program. Of course, you can find tons of recipes on my website, drjockers.com. We also have a whole super brain program that really helps with, regulating all your neurotransmitter levels, including your endorphins. And these are some of the recipes in that program. So we've got our blueberry gut healing smoothie. We've got these coconut whipped cream cookies that are absolutely amazing, all really, really good for our system. So this is the kind of stuff we want to be using on a regular basis, and we can have incredible health doing it. Chocolate, I told you guys chocolate is one of the best foods for boosting endorphins. Now, if you have a sensitivity to chocolate, a lot of times when people are really dysfunctional, I'll put them on a elimination diet where we take chocolate out to begin with. But if you're responding well to chocolate, it can really help. And using it for performance benefit can be great. So a lot of people ask about what's the best type of chocolate. Really, we're looking for cacao or 90% or at least 80% dark chocolate. You can see the difference here. I talk a little bit about, okay, cacao beans, cacao nibs, cacao powder. You can find all this kind of stuff at your local health food store. But you see that at the bottom, it says raw cacao promotes the release of neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, which really help us feel good. It also has something called PEAs, which help to boost up endorphins and make us really feel good. One of the reasons why a lot of people have an addiction to chocolate is that ability to boost up those endorphins. It also has a lot of key minerals and nutrients like manganese, magnesium, sulfur, really good for skin, hair, nails. So doing some raw chocolate on a regular basis or raw cacao can be really helpful for endorphin production. Vitamin D, we really want to make sure we talk about the sunlight, sunshine. Vitamin D is really key, and also just the sun in general. Okay, if you're low in vitamin D, you're going to have trouble with endorphin levels. So you want to make sure you do vitamin D, and you can supplement. Most people need to supplement to really get enough. But on top of that, even if you're supplementing, just getting out in the sun on a regular basis is going to be key for good endorphin production. So do your best to get out in the sun on a daily basis, certainly at least twice a week, even if it's cold out. Get out there as often as you can. And if you're in a place where it's like 3-4 months out of the year, it's just so cold you can't even go outside, I would recommend moving south because it's just not healthy for your body. You want to get that sun exposure. Upper cervical, we talked about, the spine and seeing a regular chiropractor, and you can see this little bone called the atlas. And the atlas should be, basically balanced. And you can see the picture on the right there, body balance. The atlas is balanced with, it's perpendicular to the center of the skull, 90-degree angle there. When that's not the case, when the atlas is shifted or out of position, it's going to squeeze that spinal cord, and that's going to restrict the ability of the body to produce proper neurotransmitters, and in particular endorphin levels, which is going to increase pain. It could be anywhere in the body. A lot of times people have low back pain, and the real problem is their upper cervical spine, top of their neck. A lot of times people have heart problems. They have blood pressure issues. They have digestive problems. And the major problem is not necessarily their diet or cholesterol or anything like that. It's actually a problem with their atlas, their C1. So we want to make sure we get that in balance to make sure those messages are able to flow from the brain down to the body the way they're supposed to. So super critical here to make sure of that. Okay, music in the brain, again, it's so important to listen to good music, but really the kind of music you enjoy. But at the same time, you can see right down here at the bottom, the Mozart effect, listening to classical music. I like Yanni. Mozart's great. Classical music can be so powerful for the brain. And, you really want happy, upbeat songs. I don't know if you see this on the right. It says, babies know happy from sad. Babies as young as 5 months can distinguish an upbeat tune, such as Ode to Joy from Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, from a lineup of gloomy tunes. So, even if it's like you're listening to Marilyn Manson or something and you like that, still the actual verbiage and the actual negativity of the music will affect you if you're listening to it over and over and over again. So I would limit that. Think about it like sugar or candy. Maybe a little bit at a time, okay? And it can be sweet and you can have that enjoyment, but you don't want to expose your brain to too much of that because it can really affect you. So using music properly can be absolutely amazing for your life and your health. But again, you got to use it properly. And I love this quote: sound is a nutrient for the nervous system. Love your ears. They're much more important than you ever realized. Professor Dr. Alfred Tamati. So listen to the right music and it can help drive up those endorphins, keep stress under control. So powerful. Okay, supplements. The one that we use is called Dopamine Plus. And you can see right under the bottle, it says combating cravings naturally. Now, when people are low in dopamine and endorphins, they naturally are going to have more cravings. And we talked about that. Greater propensity towards addictions, whether it's alcohol, sugar, whether it's sex, just really almost anything. A lot of times they're going to have addictions. And smoking would be another one, for example. So this can really help people come off of those things. But on top of that, it's going to help boost endorphins and help them feel good. Dopamine kind of goes along with the endorphins. And you can see, some of the key nutrients it has in there. L-tyrosine, D-L-phenylalanine. And D-L-phenylalanine is what blocks enzymes that break down endorphins. D-L-phenylalanine in studies has been shown to increase alertness, decrease addiction, and suppress appetite. I typically recommend 1 to 2 grams daily, or 1 to 2 grams 1 to 2 times daily. So what does that look like? You know, basically with this, 2 caps 2 times daily gives you basically a gram, okay, twice a day. Or sometimes when people have severe addictions or really, really major challenges with cravings, with low endorphins, low dopamine, then we'll bump it up to 4 caps 2 times a day with meals. Okay, I'm sorry, away from meals. And really, it can be like 15 to 30 minutes away from a meal. The reason why you want that is because these amino acids you want to get into your system and into your bloodstream before they have to compete for uptake with the food in our digestive system. So anytime you're taking amino acids, always going to do it away from meals. And you can see, obviously, there's some other key nutrients: vitamin C, B6, 5-HTP, which is key for serotonin. We want to keep everything in balance. I mean, that's so important for this. We want to keep dopamine, serotonin, GABA, all these levels in balance when we're taking amino acids. So that's it's, again, important thing to remember. Also, key herbs, like things like ginseng, rhodiola, reishi mushroom, ashwagandha. These are called adaptogens, cordyceps, holy basil, can all really help with neurotransmitter production and modulating or coordinating the levels of endorphins, as well as serotonin, dopamine, GABA, all these key neurotransmitters. So I oftentimes, when I'm doing dopamine plus, and I'm working with people with endorphin deficiencies, serotonin deficiencies, I'll also recommend some adaptogenic herbs to help with that modulation and coordination of the stress response and neurotransmitter production. Okay, and so one way that we can look at endorphin levels is I look at my neurotransmitter metabolites on this organic acid test. Obviously, the first thing I do is get a history. If the person has chronic pain, emotional sensitivity, right? Those are, again, and then low levels of pleasure in life, like they just are depressed, they don't really have pleasure, maybe fibromyalgia diagnosis, something along those lines. I'm thinking endorphin deficiency. And then if I see HVA and VMA, these breakdown products of phenylalanine and tyrosine, if I see those high or skewed, right, where we have high HVA, low VMA, okay, and low 5-HIAA, oftentimes will be the case, which is a marker for serotonin. And that can be a big thing, right? That can be major, very much related to this. And also if I see high quinolinic, right, which is basically which indicates inflammation in the brain. If I see those things high, I'm thinking possible endorphin deficiency. So organic acid tests can be really helpful for looking at endorphin deficiencies. So again, that's called the organic acid test, which looks at mitochondria, it looks at B vitamins, looks at neurotransmitters, looks at gut bacteria as well as yeast, and see if you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria and yeast. A lot of great markers that this test looks at. One of my favorite tests to get. And with that said, I was talking about those adaptogenic herbs. So typically with the dopamine plus, I'll also use this supplement called Adapt Strong. And B6 is super key for healthy endorphin production, as well as all neurotransmitters. And so the dopamine plus has B6, the Adapt Strong also does. Adapt Strong also has B5, which is really key for stress hormone production. And oftentimes I'll see people with low endorphins, they are in phase 3 adrenal fatigue, and they don't have the raw nutrients oftentimes to produce enough stress hormone, and that's key for regulating blood sugar. So this Adapt Strong helps. It also has rhodiola, clinical doses of rhodiola and cordyceps and ginseng. So really, again, key nutrients to help, key herbs, I should say, to help impact and buffer stress levels. So Adapt Strong. And then finally, magnesium, which is really the key thing for enhancing the sensitivity of excitatory neurotransmitters and keeping their levels down, right? So we want to have good sensitivity to excitatory neurotransmitters. So if we need to think sharply or have good memory or be able to perform, we can do it in an instant. And it's not like a struggle to do, and then it's not hard to turn our brain off afterwards. Magnesium really helps with that balance and that coordination. Most people are very deficient of magnesium. Anybody that has an endorphin deficiency is absolutely going to be deficient of magnesium. So magnesium needs to be a part of the plan. I recommend a type of magnesium that crosses the blood-brain barrier because this has the greatest impact on your mood, your emotions, your pain levels, headaches, migraines, your ability to sleep well, adapt to stress well. And it's a type of magnesium called magnesium L3 combination with the brain calm magnesium. Awesome little fruit punch flavor, tastes great, and really improves brain function, memory, your ability to think sharply and quickly, your ability to manage stress, sleep well, and just function great. And so brain calm magnesium as part of my regimen. So usually I'll use all three of those with somebody with endorphin deficiency, along with all the lifestyle principles that we talked about. And, really as little as 2 weeks, we can see significant changes. And I'll typically have them do like a 3-month protocol, and then we'll kind of retest them with a subjective questionnaire to see what their endorphin levels look like. In fact, part of my online program, my Super Brain program, is actually consists of a neurotransmitter questionnaire, which you can actually take and see which neurotransmitters you are struggling in, that you want improvement with. And then we have a whole guide with strategies. So if you tested out that you were deficient in endorphins, we have a whole guide for strategies on how to boost up those endorphins, lifestyle strategies, as well as supplements to take and a protocol to follow. So check that out. There's also so much more that goes into that, including a recipe book, meal plan, different training guides, a Super Brain yoga guide, quick start nutrition guide, videos, tons of videos on recipes and on strategies to improve these different neurotransmitters and other aspects of your brain health. So if you want a real program that takes what we talked about today and puts it all into action for you, I would recommend enrolling in our Super Brain program. It's only $97. It's literally about 30 hours of my time input. If you were to hire me for 30 hours, I mean, that's going to cost you $10,000 to $15,000, but we put it into this online program so you can actually go through it at your own pace, at your own speed. You have lifetime access to it, and it only costs you $97. So again, if you're interested in that, go to my website, drjockers.com. Under the programs header, you will find the info for the Super Brain program. And I hope everybody got a lot out of today's training, and I look forward to seeing you for future trainings. And in the meantime, you can always check out our YouTube archives, as we've got tons of different trainings on a number of different topics. And be sure to subscribe to our channel as well. God bless you guys, and we will see you on a future training. Bye-bye.